Hey everybody, welcome to Nerd Overload, the pop and geek culture show that is tired of Santa being the only one that has like ancillary characters and backstory. I think it's time we get to learn about the Easter Bunny's boyfriend, Gary.
I dig it. I dig it.
Yeah, as rabbits do.
Sure.
There's got to be a whole Warren worth of characters in there.
I always figured the Easter Bunny was also Peter Cottontail.
What if it's an assumed name?
Oh yeah, maybe.
What if he's a secret agent?
Yeah.
Or he's the Fist of Khonshu. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Peter Cottontail is like a separate, like a Beatrix Potter character.
Oh, okay. See, I just remember the.
We're just making jokes, man.
Yeah. We're just playing in the space here. No, I'm Sam.
I'm Cody. I don't know if I said that. Did I say that?
You did not. You did not say that.
I was blue skying about the Easter Bunny.
Oh, I'm Josh. Yeah. Hi.
Oh, is that who you are? Okay, yeah. Hey, we have a great show for you this week, if you couldn't tell by our outstanding intro here.
Amazing improv we've done.
100% perfect improv.
Comedy comes in threes.
That's right.
You can tell we've
and we're one-third comedy here.
We've had lots of classes,
yes.
Improv classes.
Yes, and...
Nailed
it. And what? All right. So, yeah, we have a bunch of things we're going to be talking about. But first, let's get into some things we have been checking out. Check it out.
I went to Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon, the Super Live.
Yes, you did.
Last weekend.
Saw a couple pictures of that. Yeah, how was that?
I don't want to say it's the greatest show ever put to the stage, but it was very, very good and very fun. It was done, they call it a 2.5D show,
okay.
Which I don't know if that accurately describes what it is. That sounds weird.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a big screen behind them while they're acting where effects are on it. So if they do a punch, the hit spark will show up on the screen behind them.
Wow.
It's very cool.
Wow, that's awesome. And that takes some
choreography.
Serious choreography.
Like, you got to hit your mark so it doesn't look weird.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we were like set a little to the right of the stage.
Oh, so everything was kind of just off
Yeah, everything
angle.
was just a little off, but like you get the point.
Yeah.
It's still fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was completely in Japanese, but the subtitles were on that screen behind them.
Oh, really?
So you could follow along perfectly.
Oh, that's really cool.
I was half worried that it would be hard to watch the choreography and read the subtitles at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It really wasn't.
Yeah.
It really wasn't a big deal.
You're more of a dub guy than a sub guy.
I was gonna say, I think I've only watched Sailor Moon. Except for the very last season of the original Sailor Moon that was not dubbed in English.
Yeah, I love the original dub of Sailor Moon.
Oh, it's great.
The Deke dub?
Yeah.
The Deke dub?
Yeah.
The Deke or the Clover Way?
Where there's Serena.
They're not the same?
They're not the same.
Oh.
There's two different ones.
Whatever one was on Cartoon Network.
I think that was the Deke dub, yeah.
Well, the Deke one was where they all had American-ass names.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Serena and...
Lita. And, well, Amy is Amy. Any way you cut
Ray
it.
is Ray.
Yeah.
Jupiter was...
Lita.
Was it Lita?
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, Uranus and Neptune were cousins.
Yeah.
Yep. They're just very close cousins.
They weren't in this show. This show covered the Dark Moon Kingdom arc in its entire...
the best part of the best series.
The crowd was so amped for it. Everybody was so excited.
So this was the Queen Beryl. There was no Chibi Moon.
Right.
None of that other crud.
And they cut like Zoisite and Jedi. And
they
cut
did?
those guys right out.
Ah.
It was kind of pared down dialogue-wise, because I read about it afterwards. It was made with an international audience in mind.
Oh, really?
So
okay.
there's not like... There's dialogue and stuff, but it's not super dialogue heavy.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
The show was about an hour and a half, but the actual storyline was about an hour, and the last half was just a straight-up, like, super hype concert.
Awesome!
Where they redid some of the songs from the show, but... higher energy.
So they were dancing around like Japanese pop idols?
Yeah, you could buy a light stick and do
that's cool.
Do the Japanese music crowd thing.
Yeah.
Like it was a Hatsune Miku concert. Every time Tuxedo Mask was on stage, the crowd lost it for a minute because they were so excited to see
A guy in a tuxedo with a cape.
Tuxedo man.
Yeah.
And his outfit was rad. Like, he had big cape.
Excellent.
I would hope so. I would hope so.
All of their outfits were very good and
and a couple of the pictures I was looking that you sent, like they even had the shoes right and everything.
Yeah, they were like show accurate plus a little sparklier for the stage.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Obviously.
I was wondering how they would handle the transformations, and the answer to that was they just didn't do it.
Oh, sure.
Which, fair enough. Like, they went off stage and did a costume change.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
I mean, the restrictions of, stage production.
Yeah. They even, during, like, the concert portion, they did a costume change into yukatas that were really cute.
Aw.
Oh, that's cool.
But it was super fun. Like, we both had a great time.
Excellent.
I would go again if they came around again.
Okay. Yeah. No, that sounds
awesome.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Their merch wasn't super great though.
Oh yeah.
They just had like a logo shirt.
Oh, that's lame.
Yeah, better than nothing, I guess. But
yeah. Still, that's a little disappointing.
The songs were rad too. Like I
could even buy like a soundtrack of them like singing.
They didn't have the soundtrack, and I wish they did. I probably would. Well, I don't know if I would have bought it there, but I would have eventually, like, because it was some pretty good stuff. A lot of songs with random English phrases thrown in.
Winning Love by Moonlight.
Which they did. They didn't do the English version, but they did do Moonlight Densetsu.
They'd have to.
Yeah, like right at the end.
Yeah. I mean, it's iconic.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Josh, what have you been doing this week?
Oh, man, I have watched so much stuff.
Well, this is the time to talk about it.
I know. Let's see here. I'm completely caught up on Invincible. I am almost completely through Moon Knight. I even started the Knuckles Paramount series.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, God.
Does he chuckle?
No.
I'm Knuckles, and I don't chuckle.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I started the first episode of that new Gundam series, but I was really tired, so I just kind of shut it off.
I've been meaning to watch that. It has a dumb name.
It does have a horrible dumb name, and I really don't like the design of the Gundams themselves.
They're very Evangelion.
They're overly stylized.
I've especially seen the main one, yeah, and it's
especially
very,
compared to like the classic style Zaku's they have in the show. That doesn't match up well. Like, it makes them look so out of place.
I kind of like it, but I'm also not very versed in the Gundam world.
Like, they kind of remind me of what the mecha suits looked like in Eureka 7, if you remember that show. With
vaguely.
With the air surfing mecha suits and stuff.
Okay.
I'm just interested because Studio Kara did it.
Yeah. I mean, the colors and the animation are fantastic from what little bit I watched, but yeah. God, what do I want to zero in on here?
I saw there's the new Anne of Green Gables anime this season.
What?
Really?
Yeah.
Because
that's an old school, like, pre-Ghibli, like, anime.
It is.
An old Anne of Green Gables, and they're doing a redo of it. And it actually, like, the animation looks really good.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I mean, Ghibli's done a few of the, classic books, because, they did The Borrowers with Arrietty.
They did?
They did,
Were they part of that original, that old Wizard of Oz anime that was like 52 episodes?
I don't know.
Back
it
in
might
the
have been.
Late 70s, early 80s?
It was...
No.
Anne of Green Gables was like the last anime that Miyazaki and the other guy that nobody remembers that formed Ghibli. This is the last one they did before Ghibli. They formed Ghibli.
Was that the last show? Because I thought Nausicaa was the
movie.
Last movie. Okay, you're talking about show. Okay,
television animation.
Gotcha. You know what? Moon Knight. Tell me about Moon Knight.
You know what? I was gonna talk about it anyway. Because then I got on the Moon Knight kick, and then I hopped on Marvel Rivals and did a bunch of matches against AI.
Okay.
And I realized how easy mode Moon Knight is in that. But anyway, but no, I'm really, really, really liking Moon Knight, and I'm sad there isn't more or going to be more.
Yeah.
Because it feels like they were building up to something really nice, and I'm like halfway through the second to the last episode, and I'm like, it's gonna get a little bittersweet. I feel like it.
I only ever watched the first one. I need to go back and watch all of it.
Oh, the first episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot going on in that first episode other than Stephen Grant losing his mind.
That's probably why I didn't go back afterwards.
It's a kind of a slow burn, isn't it?
Kind in the beginning,
In the beginning.
And like the end is like there's all kinds of stuff going on.
Slow build up. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But it's nice seeing like actual like supernatural like what to do like
elements
in the show in the Marvel universe. Because like Thor and the Asgardians, they're gods.
We got Doctor
Strange.
Well, yeah, but it never feels as. It always feels very metaphysical in Doctor Strange.
That's true.
Yeah,
where the gods in Moon Knight feel more present, I guess.
Okay,
they are there, and I guess it helps, seeing like like Khonshu himself and the Hippo Goddess. And
you should watch Daredevil when you're done with Moon Knight because it's very, very good.
I have heard.
I finished that this week too.
Yeah.
Excellent.
How did it wrap up?
Very open for more.
Okay, good. That's all I need to hear.
I also read somewhere they might be setting up the Defenders again.
And yeah,
sure,
it does seem that way. Frank Castle kills a lot of cops. In that last episode.
Really? Okay.
Like a lot of cops.
I've heard they're setting up one of those special presentations like they did with Werewolf by Night last year of Punisher. They're going to do like, instead of a whole series, just a 45-minute episode.
I feel like that suits the character better because I know there's a lot of fans of the Punisher out there, but I never feel like he's a strong enough character to really carry something on his own.
He's just a meathead
gun guy.
Gun idiot. Yeah. There's a moment in that last episode where the cops have him captured and they are talking to him like, we're big fans of you. We think you're real cool. And you think maybe the Punisher is going to have this big speech about that's the opposite of what he's about. Mm-hmm. But no, he's an idiot. He's just a meathead and he just calls them clowns. It's like, you're all clowns. You're dumb clowns. It's like,
I'll say, because in the actual comics, Punisher because they did bring that up in a few years ago.
Yeah.
How much he's like, he tells cops, you are getting the wrong message.
Yeah.
He's very Stallone-esque feeling in this interpretation.
And that's fine. I'm okay with that, If they're going to make some guy who's just guns, make him dumb. Why not? I would love to see, if they do that special presentation, I would love to see it's Punisher trying to react to a world with superheroes, because other than the characters in the Defenders from the Netflix series, who were pretty grounded
for the most part,
how does this Punisher work in a world where there is the Hulk and Spider-Man?
And multiple alien invasions.
Yes. They do offhandedly mention Spider-Man in one of the Daredevil episodes. They don't call him by name, but they say something about webs or something.
Okay. Well, that's all right.
So
Charlie Cox did show up in No Way Home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is the MCU.
Yeah.
So this does exist within the universe.
It's a shame Vincent D'Onofrio Kingpin can't show up in a movie. I read that the other day. He's legally not allowed to be in a movie.
Oh, that sucks.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, it is, because he's one of the best villains that they've done in the MCU.
Yeah, he chews up scenery like crazy in all of his appearances.
He does. Anytime he is speaking, like, you're listening.
Oh, sure.
He's saying something.
He is that good.
And performing it in such a way that you're like, you eat up every scene he's in.
No, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, but it's a bummer you can't be in the movies, because I would love to see a Spider-Man versus, the machinations of Kingpin.
Yeah. So, I miss Marvel being like at the street level of things,
Yeah.
Then you will like this Daredevil show.
I'm sure, because I loved the last one. It was the best.
Okay, so I have one that I checked out this week, and Cody, you're gonna have to get your finger ready on the button, because I'm going to talk about Power Rangers.
So
this is kind of, it's not Power Rangers directly. There is a show that is currently on Max, the Warner Brothers app, called Hollywood Demons, and it's basically Dark Side of the Ring, but for TV shows, like the secret, seedy backstories of of your favorite shows. And they did an episode, it's new this season, and they did an episode on Power Rangers. And I was like, hey, I like Power Rangers. And I had at least 3 people text me telling me, hey, I just watched this thing and it's Power Rangers and you're Power Rangers, right? Yeah. Shout out to my friend Angie, who was the first one, is like, hey, this is your
You're the
thing.
Power Rangers
You're the Power
guy?
Rangers guy. Apparently I'm the Power Rangers guy.
Your middle name is Power Rangers.
Power Rangers Sam, yes.
Sam Power Rangers Dunham.
That's it, yes. Way to dox me. That's all good. How dare you tell them my middle name? No. So yeah, the episode was called Dark Side of the Power Rangers, and
They should have called it Dark Side of the Grid.
Well,
I guess that would have been more of like a Tron thing.
If they had made this documentary for Power Rangers fans, they could have.
If anybody who was involved actually knew anything about Power Rangers.
Pretty much. So it's a pretty poor documentary, unfortunately. So I watched it the other night, and I immediately had a lot of really not fun thoughts about it. Because, okay, for a show that is supposed to be about the background and what negative things went on during while the show was on, they really only bring up one topic that is directly related to Power Rangers. Almost all of the stories are, hey, these are things that happened to the actors 10, 15, 20 years later. The one thing they did bring up, and I will give them, credit where credit's due, they do bring up right off the top how Haim Saban is a terrible human being who basically exploited these non-union actors to make himself millions and millions of dollars. Because, when the show started, it was non-union. And you got actors of non-union quality, and they basically signed their likenesses away for $750 of 1993 money per episode, when the Zords were the biggest selling toy of the early to mid 90s.
Yeah,
that's my going rate for this show.
$750 per episode. Yeah. Well, you can get out.
All right, bye.
No, but
you're not allowed to leave.
But no, they did. They talked to Audrey Dubois, who was the original pilot Trini, Yellow Ranger. She was part of the original cast. She's Latina, and she was a 3rd degree black belt when they hired her. The character was named Trina Rodriguez instead of Trini Kwan. And they talked about how they were filming the pilot, and she knew they weren't making a ton of money. And then one of the suit actors, a putty patroller, got heat stroke and passed out. And Saban said, hey, here's a crisp $100 bill for anyone to take his costume off and put it on yourself so we can keep this rolling. Because non-union.
Yeah, wow.
That sucks. And at that point, she was like, well, I'm going to ask them for more money, because if I'm going to be putting myself on the line, if I'm doing my own stunts, if I'm going to
get heat stroke,
potentially injure myself, I want to get paid for this. And that's a fair assessment. And because they're non-union, she was immediately replaced. So that's a bummer. And that, I would say, is a dark side of Power Rangers, the show.
That is something I didn't know. But also,
yes.
I am not surprised.
Yeah. Not surprised, right. But that's kind of where talking about the behind the scenes of the show ended. The other topics they got into, mainly, they hit the low-hanging fruit. They talked about Ricardo... what's his name?
Was that the one that killed his roommate?
That's the one that...
Montalban.
Yeah, Ricardo Montalban, his fine Corinthian leather. No, it was the Wild Force Red Ranger who, and here in a sec I'll look up his name because I don't want to get these wrong. He ran someone through with a sword.
Yeah, he killed his roommate in a...
Turns out wasn't a roommate.
Oh.
So what it was...
I read somewhere it was drug-related or something.
Well, he might have been on drugs. What it was is...
I think that helps if you're going to kill somebody with a sword.
Yeah, so, there was a lot of hearsay when the news first broke, and a lot of it was coming straight from the actor's mouth, and a lot of, a vocal minority of Power Rangers fans did back the guy initially, because the story he was telling was, my roommate went nuts, and I had to defend myself. What had actually happened was he was grifting this dog rescue company because he told them, hey, I used to be a ranger, but my passion is training dogs. And was basically squatting on their property without paying rent or training the dogs. So the owner's brother went to evict him, and that's when the ranger ran the guy through with a samurai sword.
Wow.
It wasn't just a poke. It wasn't just a slice. It went in one side and out the other.
Oh.
And the guy died. I mean, he killed him. I would say, pretty gnarly.
He didn't morph beforehand, did he?
He did not.
Okay, he would get in even more trouble if he was in uniform when he did it.
Well, you can't escalate. That's the thing. You can't escalate unless the enemies do. That's why they have to wait till the end to get in the Zords instead of just stomping everybody with a giant robot first thing. I would say, negative story doesn't really have anything to do with Power Rangers
No, it really
other than the
doesn't.
fact that 10, 15 years prior, he was an actor on this show.
Yeah.
Or if the sword was a Power Ranger.
Right.
Oh my god, that would have been stupid.
Yeah. So then the next bit of dark side of Power Rangers was the death of Trini Kwan, Toi Trang, the original Yellow Ranger.
That car accident,
See,
2001.
I would not call that a dark side of anything.
No, it was just an
because
unfortunate
It's just
thing
tragic.
that is
It's
a
just
tragedy and an accident. It's not a dark side. It's not
It
like she
wasn't
went on a
caused
bender.
by anything.
It wasn't, Bulk and Skull didn't get in a car and chase them down the highway. She wasn't on a 3-day bender.
If Haim Saban had done it, yeah, then it would have been.
She didn't crush up the Zeo crystals and snort it and go on a bender. No, she had not been on the show for 20 years. She was part of a wedding party. They were going out to celebrate, and when they came back, something mechanical in the car happened, and it wrecked.
It's unfortunate, but has nothing to do with the show.
Nothing to do with the Power Rangers.
Did they not talk about the bullying that the Blue Ranger?
They did not touch
Oh
on
my
it at
God.
all. Not
That's
that,
a true dark side of Power
yeah. If
Rangers.
they wanted to talk about the dark side of filming, they could have talked to David Yost. He wasn't even in the documentary. It was
because he knew it was trash.
Well, you know what? They spoke to 3 Power Rangers in the entire thing. Jason Font, the Red Time Force Ranger, Nakia Baris, who was Yellow Zeo and Yellow Turbo, and Sierra Hanna from Megaforce, who was the Yellow Megaforce Ranger, which they miscredit as being season 17. It's season 20. They totally screwed that up.
It's just one of the trashy TLC Discovery side Warner Brothers documentaries.
It is.
There's so many of them.
This show was made for people who watched Power Rangers once or twice as a kid and like to hear juicy drama about things that they kind of half remember when they were children. That's all this is.
It's like they could have mentioned, it's the same quality of information where they could have talked about Austin St. John or whatever his actual name is.
They say it once.
Oh, about him getting hit with the federal government?
They mention it once and move off it so quickly. They mention Pua Magavia, the first Pacific Islander Ranger who committed suicide.
Yes.
Because he had mental health issues. But he also had mental health issues before they started filming the show.
You have to say unalived. This is the internet, and we have to talk like babies.
No, I'm not going to do that. No, but seriously, the issues that they brought up with a lot of these actors were previously existing. It's not like the show drove them crazy. Power Rangers is a show where they were getting non-union actors, people practically off the street to be on these shows.
It's like, do you know karate? All right, come on.
Can you fake karate?
Yeah.
And it was on for 30 years. You're not going to have an entire 30-year run of a show where you're getting hundreds of actors and crew per season switching in and out every year and not have a couple of bad eggs. You get that in any business, especially show business. So, okay, one of the other things they brought up, they tried to make a big deal out of, can you believe that they made the Black Ranger a black guy and the Yellow Ranger an Asian woman? Can you believe what they did?
The joke is old, all right?
It was the 90s, dog.
Well, here's the thing. Walter Jones actually put out a statement after all of this saying, and he's done interviews in the past saying this, but he reiterated, no, they offered me either the Blue or the Black Ranger. I knew that there were hardly any African American superheroes on television at the time. I wanted to make myself as easily visible as possible for inner city kids to be able to relate to me. They can look at the black one and go, that's me. And again, originally, Trini wasn't the Yellow Ranger. They had someone else cast. It's just that they put out a casting call and hired someone else.
It just unfortunately happened that way.
It's an unfortunate coincidence, but it wasn't a secret, dirty trick that the crew was playing.
And unfortunately, not a thing that came up at the time.
No,
it
didn't.
Not.
It really didn't. Well, when they recast after the 3 Rangers were fired from a season and a half in, as it turns out, they all had the same agent, and the agent was lobbying for a pay raise for them.
And
no, not even a pay raise. It was same amount per episode, but they wanted a percentage of the toy sales. And Saban fired them immediately.
And that's where the real money is.
That's where the money is, yeah. The other things they got into the Frank brothers. Jason David Frank and his brother Eric. Did you know he had a younger brother Eric Frank who was also a martial arts master?
I think I remember reading vaguely.
He was on 5 episodes of Power Rangers Zeo. They were teasing at the time who's going to be the Gold Zeo Ranger.
And it ended up being Jason.
It ended up being Jason. What had happened was there was a 5-episode miniseries where Tommy's long-lost brother, David Trueheart, because they were introducing the Native American Ranger, shows up, and he's a martial arts master just like Tommy Oliver. And they were setting him up to be one of the potential for the 6th Ranger. And at the 11th hour, Austin St. John said, hey, I'm back from Army. I could do this if you want. And Saban, kind of rightfully so, said, well, we could have a new guy that looks exactly like our lead right now, or we can have someone who's an established character that's going to get a good pop from former fans.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just good business.
That's good business. Well, 15 years later, Eric Frank hung himself. It had nothing to do with Power Rangers. I mean, they tried to make it say that, he was always, he always felt inferior to his brother ever since he got not cast in a long-term role on Power Rangers. No, he had a lot of there was mental health issues that ran through that entire family.
To trivialize that whole tragedy like that is pretty gross.
It's pretty gross. And then finally, of course, they get into JDF.
Jason Davis. Yeah.
And they, glowing them talking about how great he was as a convention celebrity.
The face of Power Rangers.
The face of Power Rangers. And you know what? He really was.
He was.
From what we've given him a little bit of guff in the past of being a con guy. But
I can't say con man.
I almost did.
Yeah.
But he's not. He was, and so they were stories about him, and I've heard these before, staying after the con doors close because he still had lines and he wanted to make sure everyone got to meet him.
He loved his fans.
There were fans that would come up to him and talk about, some life issues that they were having, and he would give out his phone number and call them and actually check in on them from time to time. He was legitimately a good dude.
I mean, he was just time to be on this show.
Yeah, we interviewed him.
Yeah.
Gosh, that would have been like what? 12 years ago?
It was
a very long time ago.
We don't need
it was really early on in our
it was pretty early on.
Our podcasting career.
But he was a really cool guy when I got to talk to him.
Yeah, and he
loved it. He loved his fans.
Yeah.
A little full of himself, super about the brand.
And
kind of crappy to other Power Ranger actors.
That's the thing they did not bring up at all. They made him seem like a perfect saint.
Even though he was a tool to other Power Ranger actors?
Yeah.
Even though, looking back now, Austin St. John deserves it.
The only mention of that came up that Nakia Burris mentioned, he was kind of a joker on set.
What does that mean?
It could mean anything.
Yeah, that sounds
it means nothing.
That sounds like safe talk where he was a tool on set.
Well, sure. But then they get into, someone did threaten his life at a convention. A fan who had mental health issues, was unstable, believed himself to be the Punisher, and convinced himself that JDF was the evil that the Punisher needed to snuff out, and showed up to a con in costume with a bunch of real guns and throwing knives.
Wow.
But the way the documentary presented it almost like saying, all the fans, they're all crazy. People who go to conventions are weird, scuzzy weirdos. And that Jason David Frank was an angel for sticking around and talking to these weirdos. And, Jason David Frank, he committed suicide. He did. And they spoke to...
I was going to say, did they have his grifter wife on there?
They talked to Tammy Frank a lot. And they only presented her side of what happened. Her story was, well, he was having affairs with other women while on the road, so I didn't really want to divorce him, but I filed for divorce just to get his attention because he wouldn't talk to me. But then one night we went to a country bar, and we were having a great time. We stayed up all night. We were dancing. We were laughing, and then I went down to get some snacks from the hotel. When I came back, he was dead. If the directors of the documentary had taken 2 seconds to go into the actual police reports from any of the other eyewitnesses or people in the hotel at the time, they would have told him. They were loud arguing for good parts of the evening, and people who were close to JDF knew that, yeah, he wasn't divorced from his wife. They were legally separated for years, and the affairs he was having, they were legally separated. He was just dating around. And Tammy Frank, allegedly, during that night, had told him, I am going to divorce you, and I'm taking you for everything. Yeah, so but the documentary didn't say any of that. And the worst part, this is the last, because we got to move on, and I could talk about this for an hour. The last part that drove me nuts, and it's the first indication that this was not going to be a good documentary. Do you know who Dr. Drew is? The celebrity addiction doctor.
Yeah, who's probably not really a doctor.
Oh, he's a real doctor, but...
He had a radio show in the 90s.
And he had a VH1 show called Celebrity Addiction Boot Camp or whatever, where he would basically yell at Kirstie Alley.
Loveline, that was the show he was on.
Yeah. A celebrity doctor who traded in any credibility for fame. He was one of the main talking heads, someone who had never met anybody involved with any of this, and he's just giving his armchair diagnoses of mental health issues.
That's gross.
The reason he gave that Jason David Frank, took his life, did the deed. I got his toxicology report, and I looked at it, and there were sleeping pills and bipolar medications on it. And bipolar people, you can't.
Wow.
They're but here's the thing, they don't bring it up on the thing, but if you're looking on the screen when they flash the toxicology report, right underneath the sleeping pills was cocaine and alcohol. Do you think that might have been something that was part
to do with it
of the whole thing? But no, it's that mental health. You can't trust people with mental health issues.
We're backsliding so bad, as a society when it comes to... It felt like
the things about mental health was never great.
Yeah.
It was never great.
It felt like we were starting to get
maybe make some progress.
But now it's all bad.
No.
Yeah, so maybe I'm blowing this out of proportion because...
Oh, no, it sounds like trash.
Yeah. I am decently... in on the
you know way more about Rangers.
I won't say I'm the ultimate fan because I'll admit there are some seasons that I haven't watched. There are some seasons that I watched half of or watched a million years ago and never went back to. Can't recall. I couldn't tell you actors' names. I couldn't tell you Ranger names.
I mean, it is a kids show of wildly varying quality,
usually bad. Yes, but the fact of the matter is, this documentary was bad. It was poorly made. It was not researched. It seemed slapped together. The last 5 minutes of it was practically an ad for Legend of the White Dragon, the Jason David Frank movie. One of the talking heads was the guy from Bat in the Sun, that YouTube channel.
Yeah, that did those fictional characters fighting each other.
What if Ryu fought the Green Ranger
and Scorpion fought the White Ranger?
Well, those are the guys that did that are doing Legend of the White Dragon, and they're like, well, it was his dream to get away from Power Rangers and do something real and gritty. Here's this independent movie we kickstarted where he's basically a gritty Power Ranger in the future.
Just as someone who watches a lot of documentaries, the key, if you're looking for documentaries on Max, if it's an HBO documentary, yes, that's going to be good. That's going to be a high quality thing.
Mm-hmm.
If it's anything else, it's going to be Discovery, Lifetime.
Oh, this
TLC
was
garbage.
awful. Well, the other thing Dr. Drew said, he goes, "Yeah, I watched some of the TikToks and Instagram lives that JDF put up, and he's constantly talking about, fighting the demons and fighting this and that. And if someone says anything about fighting demons, there's trauma and abuse in their past,
Or
we won't even ever know.
Or they're just a karate guy.
Or they're a karate guy who's kind of a bro.
Who fought TV movie monsters.
Yeah, like it's bad. It's bad. I do not recommend. I will never recommend this documentary. It was interesting to hear about the behind the scenes of the actual show.
Yeah.
And they did speak to one of the stunt coordinators and one of the main writer and stuff like that. And that was kind of interesting. But after the first 20 minutes, I should have just turned the thing off.
I'm sure they didn't bring up any... Did they talk about Sentai at all?
They mentioned briefly that Haim Saban, who was originally a composer for television shows, he wrote the theme song to Alf. He wrote the theme song to Inspector Gadget. Like, that was his
He's
gig.
good at it.
He
does good theme songs. Those are good theme songs.
He was in Japan scouting out, because he was starting his production company, he was in Japan scouting out anime because he was going to get into redubbing anime, and caught Bioman on television and decided, hey, this is a thing that I want to try to do.
Bioman.
That's actually, I finally got a frame for it.
Bioman.
Believe it or not, that is the rarest part of my collection, because there is a long lost episode where he tried to make Bioman, the first Power Rangers, starring Mark Dacascos as the Red Ranger, and Miguel Nunez, who was DJ in Street Fighter the movie, the video game, the movie, as Detective Zach whatever Taylor. Like, they were adults that were, slapped into an episode of Bioman.
Detective Zach and Cody.
Yeah. The Sweet Life of Detective Zach and Cody. Yeah. But no, they talk very, very briefly about how it was a get-rich-quick scheme.
Well, obviously.
Because he didn't expect it to... He was like, this is going to last one season, no one's going to watch it, but I'm going to make some money because it costs us almost nothing to make.
Because all the good scenes have already been filmed.
Exactly.
He saw the same dollar signs that Stan Lee did with Spider-Man, but in reverse.
Well, you know what? Stan Lee came up with the idea of doing this about 10 years prior to Saban actually doing it. There's a newspaper interview that he was talking about. They were talking about Japanese Spider-Man, because that was a show, Japanese Spider-Man. I've talked about it. It's great.
It's great, yeah.
He's the emissary of hell, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
But
he also uses a gun.
But Stan Lee said, it's great. It's amazing what they do over there. Kids love action. Kids love giant robots. There's this show Battle... not Battle Fever J. It was Sun Vulcan.
Oh.
He was talking about Sun Vulcan because that was the current season.
Sentai series.
I think it's like season 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I could be wrong there. But he's like, there's this show Sun Vulcan that I wish I could bring over to America because kids would love it, but we would have to refilm all of the human out-of-suit shots with people. I don't know if that would work or not, but I would love to do it. I tried to present it, and... producers laughed me out of the building, and that's where it dropped. 10 years later, Saban went, oh, that's actually a good idea.
Yeah.
Let me do this for as cheap as possible. They don't bring any of that up on the show. They almost present the Sentai as, look at this weird thing from Japan that we brought over here and made $1 million on.
Not that it already was a thing of quality.
Not that it hadn't been on TV for almost 20 years at that point.
That's correct.
Prior to. Yeah, it was not great. And the final capper was, at the end of the episode, there was, on the next Hollywood Demons, the dark side of the Real Housewives of whatever.
Uh,
So that's the caliber, that's the quality of show you're getting.
Isn't
there, if
that what
tells you
those
anything.
shows already are?
That's what I said when I saw that. It's like that show's supposed to be the behind the scenes anyway.
yeah, it's all supposed to be like these, I don't know, high maintenance, over the top, dramatic people
Yeah,
just yelling at each other, and
getting
drinking
into
wine.
gossipy fights with each
Yeah,
other.
What are they
gossipy
going to talk about?
catfights.
Oh, there were a bunch of scenes that we couldn't put on air because there were things that were said that wouldn't have flown past the
And we still
the
can't
standards,
tell you what
and
they
we
are,
can't
but
still
we
tell-
swear they happened.
We're going to talk to a couple of Z-list pseudo-celebrities about, oh, yeah, no, I really hated her, but we're friends now. Yeah. Oh, guess what? They drank on set. Yeah? It's the Real Housewives
Yeah,
wives of
you can
whatever.
see it.
You can see it. It's right there.
The wine is there.
There is nothing secret about that. That was the show.
Unless they're like they went through 48 boxes of wine per season.
Yeah.
Or
Boxes.
per episode.
Boxes.
Yeah.
They're big juice boxes. Yes.
They're drinking Frieza because it's like super cheap.
Yeah, they went through 400 boxes of Franzia per episode.
Oh man, get some Manischewitz up in here. yeah. But no, okay.
Just pour it straight in my mouth.
I've rambled way too long. We got to move on to the news.
No, it's
because
fine to be passionate about something that is that trash.
You know what? I try not to listen. The Office is where most of the nerd stuff lives. If you were to see me on the street, yeah, you could probably tell I'm kind of a dorky guy, but I don't walk up to people and go, hey, let me tell you about Power Rangers.
Yeah, let me tell you,
Hey, let me tell you about all of my niche interests. That's what this show is for.
Yeah.
So I can tell you about my niche interests. But whether I knew a lot about the topic or not, you could tell that it is a bad scandal for the sake of stirring stuff up.
Sensationalism?
Sensationalism. Thank you. Sensationalist. Yes. It's garbage TV. They did a bad job.
It was a clickbait of a documentary.
Yeah.
Yes. If they would have taken a more neutral stance and actually came to it like documentarians and actually had a measured response going, this is what this person said about this, and this is what this person said,
Well,
and they don't add up. What's the mystery? That's a story. It's not Power Rangers, but that's a story, and that's compelling instead of just taking the easy way out with
To
stuff.
ignore what David Yost had to go through is...
Other than a couple of pictures, he was not even mentioned.
That's...
Anything with the Amy Jo Johnson getting overworked and crying on set almost every day because they're working 12 and 14-hour days, and because they were hired not as actors but as stunt people, they had to perform their own stunts, and they had no insurance, and they were making no money.
See,
that's a story.
That is the dark
That's
side.
interesting.
That is literally the dark side of Power Rangers, and
Yeah.
it's not mentioned on the...
The rest of them are tragedies.
That had nothing to do with the show.
And again, it's not like the show drove these people to do the things that they did down the road. That was already kind of ingrained in their personality prior to anything. That's it. Thank you for hitting the Power Rangers stoplight. I
I
appreciate
did it
that.
mostly for effect.
I appreciate that. Well, we don't have a whole lot of time left on the show, but we should probably talk about some news.
There was a Mario Kart Direct on...
There was.
Thursday, I think. It was about 15 minutes. It unfortunately didn't really show us anything they hadn't already shown.
Yeah.
They elaborated on the free roam mode a little bit, which is what I was most interested in. There are like little missions you can do in there.
Well, that's probably
And-
how you unlock all the millions of extra
Outfits
characters
and
outfits.
stuff.
The outfits you just unlock by driving through restaurants.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But there are little missions that give you coins, and there's hidden coins, and then they didn't explain what those are for.
Oh.
So, still don't know what exactly you do in the free roam mode.
Probably for vehicle parts.
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah. Because the other games had, you could buy new wheels and new chassis and stuff if you got X amount of coins or whatever.
Yeah.
Or if you race certain tracks or whatever.
It was every
Yeah.
time you hit a certain coin threshold, it would
Yeah.
unlock a new
Right.
part.
Yes. Yeah.
It still feels like they haven't justified the price for this game.
Sure.
if they had a game that was the quality level of Breath of the Wild at launch and wanted to charge me $80 for it,
Sure.
that would be a lot more reasonable. It would still suck, but it would be a lot more reasonable. But this just seems like a Mario Kart.
Well, maybe they feel as though they don't have to put out a super banger as a launch title because it's backwards compatible with almost all of the Switch 1 games. Because when people jump to Switch, it's either get Legends of Zelda or just stare at it, because there really wasn't anything.
There was like 4 games.
Listen, for the first 6 months that I had the Switch, it was the Zelda machine because that's all I had for it.
Yep.
But now with the Switch 2, you can backwards play all your Switch 1 games, so they don't necessarily have to have Superstar S plus rank game out the gate.
Yeah,
they really
they can do an A. They can do an A+.
You're right.
No, they should. But I don't know.
One of their reasonings for it costing as much as it is they think they're still going to be selling Switch 1s.
No.
Which absolutely not.
No.
That's never been a thing.
That's
No,
not gonna
the fanboys know they're going to get the new machine and not have to worry about the second one, because Nintendo doesn't support it for that long after the launch of a new one.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of the Switch 2...
I'm surprised the DS was supported as long as it was.
It did not come up anywhere in any of their directs, but Animal Crossing is getting a frame rate increase patch.
Oh, cool.
When it comes out. They're not adding any new content. That game is dead, but they are frame rate increasing and
Which
doing
means we'll
some
probably
other
just
stuff.
get a new one.
Yeah. That's the one thing that Samantha was most disappointed about with the big Switch 2 Direct, was that there wasn't an Animal Crossing, and I kind of half expected there would be.
Same with Jordan, but I'll take a frame rate increase because I have so many things on my island that
your island is.
I chug along through.
Yeah,
your island's
your island is rough.
Hey, they told
navigate.
me to design an island. I designed a friggin' island.
You did.
Yeah.
That game kind of has stinky load times too.
It does.
Yeah, I haven't touched mine in forever.
Oh, I'm terrified to go back to my town because it's been a year and a half, almost 2 years, and
the animals are dead.
they're going. Well, they're going to neg me for the next week.
Oh yeah, that's
Once I turn
And
that thing
tell me
on.
that they all left.
Yeah, it's like, where have you been? We missed you for so long. Why? Why'd you leave us?
There's
And
so many
I don't want to go
cockroaches
through
in
that.
your house.
Oh man, it's going to be more cockroaches than decorations at this point.
The cockroaches are hunting the tarantulas at night.
Yeah, the ranchos.
It was such a big seller for the original Switch. I thought
was.
for sure.
Well,
they
it
would
also
have
because it
another
came
one.
out. It came out at that perfect time
Yeah.
of the
that
pandemic.
was perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was right game at the right time kind of situation.
Nobody could go anywhere. What are we going to do? We're going to play Animal
We're
Crossing
gonna sit and play Animal Crossing and get takeout.
and visit our friends' islands.
Yeah.
because we can't see them in real life.
Well, hey, when we were doing streams there for a while,
we were using Animal
used Animal
Crossing.
Crossing.
I forgot about that.
I did it.
I still have the studio set up in the basement of my Animal Crossing house. Someday we might have to bring it back for an episode. I don't know.
Dig my Switch back out.
Yeah, there you go. We have time for maybe one or two more quick ones. What do we got?
Well, speaking of Switch 2 pre-orders.
Oh yeah, they're back on the menu, boys. Nintendo announced today, April 24th is when pre-orders will go live for it.
And there's not they didn't have a price increase.
No, yeah, it's the same. They said that some accessories might be more expensive or peripherals.
So the
the camera,
the Pro controller, probably some other stuff. If you wanted to buy an extra dock, that's going to cost you more, that sort of thing. And that makes, unfortunately, in our current times,
It just make a circular motion.
general
It just-
mode,
generally, everything going on.
Oh my God, we just accidentally did the cultist summoning meme.
Yeah.
But no, I'm glad that the Switch is staying $449 and $499.
I didn't think it would be. People are already mad that it's.
Yeah,
that
I'm about to say
expensive.
people are already mad that it's expensive as it is.
I really thought they were going to tack an extra $100 onto it.
If they did, people would have lost their minds. It would have been more damage than it would have been worth.
And that's probably why it took them so long to
decide
what
they were doing
gonna
risk
do.
assessment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's either take off the people that are already kind of grumpy at the corporate machinations of Nintendo,
Or not make $10 more.
Yeah.
We should talk about Fantastic Four real
Let's talk
quick.
about Fantastic Four.
They dropped another trailer. It still looks very good.
It does.
I'm excited to see this movie.
Yep.
I don't know what it is about Marvel Cinematic Universe period movies that I absolutely love.
Yes.
Because like Captain America, the First Avenger, is an amazing movie.
Excellent.
I love that movie.
They don't hold back. They go all in with the look.
Oh yeah,
and
it
feel
is
of the
super
period.
60s.
Because I almost think it's more impressive that they're able to match the time that they're trying to go to instead of
modernize something.
Yeah.
I think they kind of learned a little bit from WandaVision when they did those like period sets.
Yes.
I feel like that's where a lot of that information and that know-how came from.
And they saw how much people like that too. That probably has a lot to do
Probably
with
helped.
it.
Oh yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
helped. Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like Peggy Carter, if it would have came out later, would have done better than it did.
Oh
I wish that would have did better because it was pretty.
It was great.
a good show.
It was great.
Also,
Haley Atwell's great.
I was gonna say Haley Atwell is a world treasure.
Yeah. That I wish she did more.
Yeah.
But
And also
then again, she's made enough Marvel money that
she really doesn't have
Yeah.
have to do.
I thought it was really funny when it was back when I think it was when Peggy Carter was on. It was either Peggy Carter or when she was filming Captain America. I can't remember, but she had to go renew her ID, and she left straight from set, still in her
her 50s,
in her
30s,
World War
yeah.
II her World War II-esque outfit with her victory curls and all that stuff, and she
Yeah.
got her ID picture done. She goes, you know what? It looks great.
I bought a Hulu subscription specifically to watch.
Captain Carter,
Yeah, Agent
Peggy
Carter.
Carter.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep saying Captain Carter.
Well, because she
is Captain Carter.
Marvel, what if?
Yeah,
And that one scene in
Doctor Strange.
Too. Yeah.
She should have been called Captain Britain. She should have been called Captain Britain.
But then fans would be upset because there already is one.
Oh, it was Captain Britain, a woman.
Which we're getting about the Silver Surfer in this movie, but
Yeah.
it's an existing character.
Who's not even called the Silver
Yeah.
Surfer. She is a Silver Surfer, but she is not the Silver Surfer.
Do you know the character's name?
It's like
Sh-
Shem Canal. or-
Shabal or
Okay.
something?
Yeah.
Shara Ball? I think that's...
Shara Ball, yeah.
Shara Ball. That's the Silver Surfer's wife.
Eventually, yes.
From the planet that he was originally from.
So if he was in the movie, he would go, "My wife."
My wife. Yeah, Shara Ball is
Charla Ball, is the Herald of Galactus.
Yeah.
I don't. It's
So that's fine.
it's ridiculous that these guys are getting mad about a naked silver lady being in the movie.
People are going to get mad about anything.
Yeah.
That's
they gotta feed the algorithm, and the grifters that do this have to have something to get mad at, so they
Yes.
get people to watch their 3-hour long, really boring YouTube videos.
and they can hawk their ad code to Manscaped.
Yeah.
Manscaped, VPNs, and Factor Foods.
Yeah. Eroxon gel.
Yeah. Your gamer sups, your Mix'em drinks or whatever.
Yeah, Gamer Subs usually is better about picking people to sponsor them.
True. What's the G Fuel? G Fuel. That's the one that just throws it to anybody.
Yeah. Oh,
Although
yeah.
They did a V
Except
Shoujo.
us.
Yeah, they did a V Shoujo collab recently. That's Iron Mouse's.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But also, the Russian Badger owns a stake in Gamer Subs. He's a streamer, YouTuber.
Oh.
So does Shy Lily,
Oh.
who's a VTuber.
Okay.
Speaking of VTubers, we didn't put this on the board, but Gargura,
the
of,
little shark girl.
of HoloLive English, and like one of the first,
Really popular
Really
VTuber.
popular.
She's one of the
VTubers.
few that I could recognize on site.
yeah, which is why I bring it up. It seems like she's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
She is graduating in May 1st, which
What is graduating?
Which in VTuber lingo that means she is quitting.
Yeah. And that means she has to give up the rights to the character, right?
Yeah,
Like she
yes.
can't use
Yeah,
it
that's the HoloLive rule.
ever again.
She
Yeah.
can never be Gora again.
Yeah.
She could be a VTuber, but she can't be Gora.
Yeah, Gura, the character, is owned by HoloLive, so they're retiring. The little shark girl's going up in the rafters.
Oh yeah.
They're hanging her jersey up.
Yeah, her tail.
Poochie has to go back to his home planet.
Yeah. So she could conceivably come back as a different character independently. Most of them do.
Yeah. But well, that's kind of a shame.
Yeah,
because
because that's such a strong character design.
it was. It is. Yeah.
And she's a really good and funny streamer, so I hope that she does come back as
Like an independent
someone else.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hope
But
so.
even then, we don't really know if that's the plan until it happens.
Right. Well, we'll find out. I mean, hey, the internet is large and vast.
And full of monsters.
I'm sure she can find, and I'm sure her fans will find her wherever she lands. So, hey, happy graduation.
It's so weird because
Yeah.
it feels like someone is dying. Like that's what
Yeah.
the graduations feel like
Mhm.
in a weird way because they're not really
Gone.
gone.
Also, using the term graduation is also kind of infantilizes.
Yeah, it makes them
the
seem-
VTubers in a way that I don't
It's
particularly
very
care for.
Japanese.
Yeah.
Like we don't want to say that we fired them, but
Or they're quitting.
or they're quitting. This was not a fire situation.
Yeah, this was a
She
quit.
said disagreements with the direction of the company and management.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
health
I've
issues.
heard some stories of the HoloLive stuff. Like it's
They're pretty strict about stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
HoloLive is one of the nicer ones to its talents, I would say. But either way,
it's still a machine.
yeah,
It's still a machine.
you're still a corpo cog.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, I think we have hit time. You have been listening to Sam rants about Power Rangers and also some other stuff.
You know what? That should have been the name
It
of the
should
title.
be. That
Oh,
might be.
There was a good name in there somewhere. I
There was
forget what
somewhere.
it
Yeah,
was.
we'll get it. But you can find each and every one of our episodes every day at nerdoverload.com.
You can find all our social medias and links and all that at links.nerdoverload.com.
You can send us an email at staff@nerdoverload.com or give us a call on the Nerd Overload hotline. The number for that's 412-345-1413. Leave us a voicemail and we will play it on the show.
We absolutely will. Hey, you know what? Call in. Tell me about your Power Ranger memories. Why not?
Give us your Power Ranger hot take.
Yeah, give us some hot takes on the Power Rangers. And that hot take for most people is probably, I remember it. You can find all of our back episodes on various podcast apps, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube, which we are live on every Friday night
When we feel like it.
when we're up to it. Around
has
6
been
o'clock.
most nights.
It's been late. Yeah, lately.
We
And
were off last week, but we've hit every
took
other
a-
one before then.
We took a week off, but hey, we're busy adults, and we consistently have a couple people show up. Finally, I'd like to thank Parker for helping us out, helping us find some news articles, and David Pencil for our intro and outro. So again, thank you all for tuning in, and we will be back next week.
See you, Star Child.
Peace out.
May the power protect you.